Yo, what's going on everybody? Hope everybody is doing well. Today we're going to be talking about Caliban and my Caliban Viral Vengeance build. With this build, I went ahead and replaced Caliban's first ability, Razor Gyre, with the Helminth ability, Nourish. On top of that, I went ahead and formed him 5 times, and I also got 5 Archon Shards on Caliban. Caliban is already an amazing Warframe when it comes to survivability, but pairing him with a great mod setup and a really good weapon loadout, and maybe even a really good companion, can make him an even better Warframe. On top of that, Caliban is one of my favorite Warframes. Not only is his lore absolutely badass, but his design is also crazy cool. Nonetheless though, let's go ahead and go over Caliban himself, starting with Caliban's passive. Caliban's passive gives him and allies in affinity range adaptive armor that actually builds up damage resistance against specific damage types that you receive from enemy attacks. This adaptive armor stacks 5% every time you get hit, and it goes all the way up to a max of 50% armor reduction, which is absolutely amazing to just have as a passive ability. Also keep in mind that if you do not receive damage for more than 5 seconds, this adaptive armor will start to lose 2% until it's fully gone. But regardless, his passive is still super amazing, especially if you're dealing with a bunch of enemies at one time. And if you're playing with allies, you could just stand next to them and give them the same armor boost. It's pretty awesome. Next up, we got his first ability, which, as I said earlier, we ended up replacing with the Helminth ability, Nourish. I know a lot of people are tired of this ability. I am not one of those people though. Let me tell you, this ability right here is absolutely goated, especially on a Warframe like Caliban. This ability has 3 separate bonuses. It gives you an energy multiplier, which increases the amount of energy you get from every single energy source. Taking damage while this ability is active will cause a viral explosion that applies 1 stack of viral to any enemies that are hit by the explosion. And on top of that, this ability also applies a viral weapon damage buff to all of your weapons. Definitely one of, if not still, the best Helminth ability in the game. You get so much energy back thanks to that energy multiplier. You can do more damage to enemies thanks to the viral weapon damage buff. And on top of all of that, the viral explosion can also stagger enemies, making it a really great option for dealing with a group of enemies. Next up, we got his second ability, Sentient Wrath. With this ability, Caliban will stomp the ground and release a shockwave of sentient energy, and enemies hit by this ability are lifted into the air, where they remain in a certain ragdoll state for a certain duration. And on top of that, enemies hit by the shockwave are also more vulnerable to damage for a certain amount of time. And this damage vulnerability can scale with your ability strength, so the more ability strength you have, the more damage vulnerability you will be applying to enemies. Not only is this ability really good for dealing with a group of enemies, but this ability is also amazing for dealing with enemies that are really tanky or just generally hard to kill. All you gotta do is use this ability to stomp right next to them, and they are instantaneously more vulnerable to damage. And as long as you have good weapons, you can easily crowd control with this ability. On top of that, lifting enemies in the air and watching them just get ragdolled is absolutely hilarious, and it's just another reason why I love Caliban, because he's got goofy stuff like this in his kit that actually works. Next up, we got his third ability, which is called Lethal Progyny. This is definitely his most iconic ability in my opinion, and that's because with this ability, you can summon up to 3 Conculus allies. What makes these Conculus summoning so amazing is that they actually constantly recharge Caliban's shields whenever they're in range, and they recharge his shield so much that they can actually overflow and go into overshields. And depending on how much ability strength you have, will actually determine how many shield points they restore per second, and it will also determine how many overshields you can have. And on top of all of that, Conculus possess a high threat level, which means that the enemies around you will actually prioritize the Conculus instead of focusing fire on you. And on top of all of that, these Conculus also possess damage and health multipliers that scale with ability strength. So the more ability strength you have, the more damage and the more health these Conculus will have overall. And man, this ability is just an absolute goated ability. For those who don't know the lore about Caliban, Caliban is actually half sentient and half Tenno. So having an ability that can just straight up summon sentient allies is honestly really cool. And that shield recharge rate, man, the fact that it goes all the way into overshields and the fact that it constantly recharges your shield points makes it such a goated ability, especially when you increase your ability strength. And finally, we got his last ability, which is called Fusion Strike. With this ability, Caliban fires 3 energy beams that meet at a single point. The beams deal blast damage, and when the beams actually converge into a single point, they will cause an explosion, which leaves behind a fallout aura, and enemies that walk through this fallout aura have their armor and shields permanently removed. On top of that, the explosion itself does blast damage, so on non-steel path activities, you could just straight up kill with this ability, but on higher level missions and steel path missions, this is an amazing ability for stripping armor. But do keep in mind, in order to actually fully strip enemies' armor and shields, you will need to have 200% ability strength with Caliban. And in my opinion, it's definitely worth it so you can get that 100% armor and shield removal, because that removal is also permanent, so all the enemies literally have to do is walk through the field and and thanks to the Helminth ability Nourish, we're definitely gonna have enough energy to use that ability over and over, which makes for a really nice armor stripping ability. With all that out the way, let's go ahead and talk about the mod setup that I got on Caliban. For the aura mod on Caliban, we got Brief Respite, which is definitely one of the best aura mods in the entire game, and that is because with this aura mod, every time you actually cast an ability, it converts 150% of that energy you spent on that ability to shields while your over shields are inactive. Thanks to this aura mod, all you literally have to do is spam your abilities and you get shield back. I got rolling guard so I can instantly remove any status that's applied to me by simply rolling, and so I can become immune for a short amount of time. I got transient fortitude for extra ability strength. I could go with blind rage for a little bit more, but I don't actually want to lower my ability efficiency, and I can make up for that lack of ability duration thanks to the mod Prime Continuity, which gives me extra ability duration. I got Prime Flow for extra energy, Umbral Fiber for extra armor, and Umbral Intensify for extra ability strength. And then I got Fast Deflection for extra shield recharge and to decrease my shield recharge delay, as well as Vigilante Vigor to do the same thing. One thing I highly want to recommend for this Viral Vengeance build is that you actually pair Caliban with the Zenuric Operator School. The extra energy recovery this school offers is absolutely peak, and on top of that, you get extra ability strength whenever you stand in a Hardened Wellspring, which can be really good on a Warframe like Caliban, especially when you're trying to summon those Conquilist allies. And also, I'd lastly like to recommend that you pair Caliban with a companion that can actually recharge shields. Yesterday, I actually made a video on my Helios Prime build, and if you're curious, that video will be linked in the description down below. But what makes a support companion like Helios so amazing with a Warframe like Caliban is the fact that certain Sentinel companions actually get the mod Shield Charger. This is a Sentinel mod that increases your Warframe's max shields and regenerates them for a certain amount of time. So on a Warframe that focuses on shield regeneration and just keeping shields in general like Caliban, companions like this can go a long way. And yeah guys, that's pretty much gonna be it for this video. Like I said earlier, with the right mod setup, with the right weapon loadout, and maybe even with the right companion, you can make an amazing Warframe like Caliban even better. And despite Caliban not being one of the most popular Warframes out there, he is still an absolute demon when it comes to survivability in Warframe. And on top of that, he's just one of my favorite Warframes in general. I love his design, I just love everything about him. And having access to builds like this with a Warframe like Caliban is just another reason why he's one of my favorites personally. But regardless, let me know what you guys think of Caliban and my Caliban Viral Vengeance build down below. And if you got a Caliban build that you absolutely love to rock on your Caliban, feel free to leave that in the comments as well. But at the end of the day, Caliban is just a really cool Warframe that, in my opinion, brings out a lot of the fun that this game has to offer. And on top of that, you have so much versatility when it comes to builds with Caliban. And I don't know, his overall uniqueness and flair with his abilities is just one of the reasons he's in my top 5 of favorite Warframes. Half sentient, half Tenno Warframe that can literally summon other sentient beings. It's just a really cool design in my opinion. And man, if Caliban gets a rework, he could be even better. And the build that I made in this video, as well as other builds I've made, could be even better. If they were to rework Caliban, I would absolutely love if they replaced his first ability with just, I don't know, something else. Give him the Hydroid treatment and just give him a straight up new ability. And on top of that, I think instead of using blast damage on his 4th ability, maybe you could replace that with like radiation damage. I don't know, that'd be pretty cool. If Caliban one day gets a rework, I'm curious to know what you guys think about that rework and how you guys think that rework would go. He's already a great Warframe and he could definitely be better. So in my opinion, a rework to his first and maybe his 4th ability would help him become an even better Warframe overall. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Before this video ends, real quick, just wanted to say thank you guys so much for all the support on the channel. I got plans to make Warframe videos through the entire year, so I hope you enjoy videos like these and the videos that are to come. And yeah guys, that's gonna be it for me. Keep your head up, stay positive, and with that being said, thanks for watching.